You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón. Smitty is live Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Get on-demand one-on-one text advice with Smitty at thefantasyfootballshow.com.
You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón.
Get on-demand one-on-one text advice with Smitty at thefantasyfootballshow.com.
You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón. Smitty is live Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasía fútbol novelas. Espera con el patrón. You are about to enter the fantasy football show. Please stand by like a boss. Estás entrado al fantasy football.
Live from the fantasyfootballshow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
What is going on, good people? Your boy Smitty joining you here on a, what is it, Wednesday? I never know what day it is. All I know is we're getting closer to football, and we have, not that we wish injury upon anybody. I don't want people to look at this like taking laps, and on top of that, Melvin Gordon's not even that injured yet. There's no severity. It may not even be a big deal, but Melvin Gordon's already hurt. His foot injury's keeping him out of practice, and he'll be reevaluated. Let's just take a deep breath and stop jumping ahead, putting the cart before the horse, and start anointing Javonte Williams top 5 pick. Okay, let's stop that, because we're enjoying stealing him away in the second round. Melvin Gordon is not a threat long-term to Javonte in 2022. I'm not talking about dynasty. I'm not talking about 2023. I'm telling you that Javonte Williams can't be stopped. Javonte Williams will be a top 5 overall player. Javonte Williams could be the number 1 or number 2 running back in 2022 fantasy football. I have not wavered. I have not hesitated. I have no ifs, ands, or buts about it in my mind. Javonte's season is loading no matter what. No one's holding him back. That's like talking about Nyheim Hines holding back JT, and people come at me and say, Smitty, you can't compare Nyheim Hines to Melvin Gordon. Are you crazy? Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. I just did, and I'll continue to. And it's my show. And speaking of my show, we just hit 12K last night about midnight. We just hit 12K. Let's go.
Let's go. Mashed potatoes.
12K. I work for you. We hit 12K. We're at 12K, as you can see right there. Congratulations to every single one of you. We're doing it. We're doing it live. Appreciate you all being here. So what do we make of this Melvin Gordon news? Look, Melvin Gordon being evaluated for a foot injury. It appeared to not be a big deal on the surface. We don't know. These things can change really quickly in any direction. He could be back on the field tomorrow and it not be a big deal at all, or they could find something. The thing I want to make clear to everybody, okay, is that this guy is an older back, a 29-year-old back. He's 29, right? Somebody look it up. Confirm, validate my facts here. 29 years old. Okay, 29 years old. Lots of mileage. 4.0, 3.9 to 4.0 something yard per carry. Pedestrian running back. His whole career, he needs massive volume. He's losing a step. Don't tell me he's not losing a step. When you're 29 years old, you have lost a step, which means he's got to do more to even get close to last year's production. Every year is going to be harder for him to do it on a long season. You can look good without pads on. You can look good doing training on Instagram videos. Everybody gets excited about those. They think they know how quick the player's running, how quick they can hit the hole. But once you've had the amount of mileage that Melvin Gordon's had, you enter a 29-year-old season and your body's breaking down. 29 is not what it used to be. Now, the new 30, the age of decline is 26 turning 27. And some of the old school people out there haven't accepted yet. They haven't accepted it yet. The Fantasy Karens, the Worried Williams, the Perturbed Peters. Everybody is literally, you like that one? Everybody's literally pretending they live in the old world. The new world is running backs fall off the face of the earth around 26 turning 27. And this guy Melvin is an older dog, so he's kind of hanging on to the old 29 being the fall off age for running backs. There's rhyme or reason why we're going to be seeing a potential. Let's people come in here and they try and spam. You'll get bumped. You'll get bumped. You're gone. That's it. You come in here, try and get all spammy, you're gonna get booted. The people that are hanging on to this Melvin Gordon stuff, as if he's gonna stand in the way of the best tackle breaking monster in the NFL. Melvin Gordon is the number one tackle breaking machine in the entire National Football League. The number one. He played halftime. And I know people say that's all I talk about. I use the same stat over and over. Guess what? It's a pretty telling stat. It's a pretty obvious stat when you're talking about a player that dominated the entire National Football League on halftime. Not to mention, when the guy gets the football, he could take it house at any moment. Do you think that the Denver Broncos aren't putting him in charge of at least 60% of the carries? 60% of the carries? And what happens once he starts delivering? There's so many avenues to a full workload or a 70% workload. And in this offense, the amount of times they're going to run the football, all you need is 75% of the work. I'm not even wishing that Javonte gets all of the work. We only need him to get 75% of the work. That's it. We don't need him to get 95%. Now, are we going to say, okay, if Melvin Gordon is out of the equation, let's say they look at this foot, ends up being worse than it is, and he ends up missing the season. Like, is everybody in here going to be like, okay, Javonte season? Absolutely. You know, even I will be saying, okay, now where do we draft him? Where in the first round do we draft him? Not do we draft him in the first round? Where in the first round? But until we get there, let's not put the cart before the horse. I've got people DMing me left and right saying, Smitty, do I take him at 9? Do I take him at 10? Look, Melvin Gordon injured his foot. We don't know if it's going to be a big deal or not. Don't put the cart before the horse. Let's calm down, leave his ADP where it is, and let's stop perpetuating a potential Javonte climb. I'm not mock draft. I won't mock draft tonight for the life of me. You couldn't pay me to mock draft tonight because I don't want this to cause a change in ADP. let's see. Aaron Jones over Javonte. No thanks, Swaggy. No thanks. You go ahead and ride that train if you want, but you're going to be riding that train, kind of an empty train, but that's okay. I appreciate you anyway. Let's see here. Is Javonte season loading? It absolutely could be, but let's pump the brakes on it. We got a couple super chats we got to get to. TM42 says, my league is meeting today to discuss rules for draft order. What are some changes that will spice up the league? We're already super flex IDP. I don't like just spicing up it to the point where you can't even get content for it. I'm not a huge IDP guy. It's not that I don't know IDP. I just don't focus on it because, number one, it's not as big as regular fantasy football, so you kind of put your content in a box if you start talking IDP. And I don't love IDP, so it's not even a passion of mine. Can I play it? Yeah. Do I like to create content for it? Not really. And that's okay. There's places for that. But I like to focus on the offensive skill positions because there's enough to do on it. Spicing it up would be give half the money to the total point winner, give half the money to the Super Bowl winner. You want to spice things up? Do that, because that way you can win all of the money if you want. You can win every single dollar if you want. That's a good way to spice things up. So let's go. Melvin Gordon news. Let's pump the brakes. We'll find out. Now here's some other news right here. Deshaun Watson is scheduled to start in the preseason opener against the Jaguars on Friday, provided there's no change to his status. I'm telling you right now, I could be wrong on this, but my gut tells me that this triggers an announcement to be made before Friday. There's no way the NFL wants the optics of Deshaun Watson going onto the field and then coming off the field. This tells me that Goodell, his designee, and the league are going to make sure that this announcement happens before we end up hitting Friday evening when Watson runs onto the field. I could be wrong. I don't have any insider information on that, but my logic tells me we will be seeing an announcement before this game kicks off because the NFL doesn't want him on the field. The NFL doesn't want him to come out and play well or something, and then you have more like backlash and support and people talking. If this guy doesn't touch the field before his suspension, which is most certainly going to be a full year suspension with the necessity to reapply after this 1 year, so he's not even guaranteed to play 2023. He has to reapply. If you think that's not coming down, Goodell already tested the temperature when he came out with this little number right here. Where is that? I think it's somewhere. I think it's right here. Here's what Goodell came with yesterday, or was it earlier today? No, it was yesterday. He said that Deshaun Watson's actions were egregious and predatory behavior. And Goodell coming out and talking so strongly against Watson, kind of for the first time, if you've noticed, if you've been paying attention, this is kind of the first time you've heard Goodell talk with this much authority and judgment toward Deshaun Watson. And that should indicate to you that he's testing the temperature of everybody that's receiving the information to see what kind of backlash or support a full season suspension will have, given the fact that in order to do this, Roger Goodell will have to circumvent Sue Robinson's decision. Now, the very important verbiage that the commissioner used when he said these words, egregious, predatory behavior, putting Watson in the worst light as possible. Like, think about it for a second. If you're going to come in here and argue with me that Goodell's not going to have his designee 100%, because Sue Robinson, he gave her a little slack. She came down with 6 games. He's not having any more room for error. So his designee is going to do whatever he wants. I can almost guarantee that. And do you think Roger Goodell is going to come out and say the words predatory behavior and egregious for the first time really ever? Okay? And then have this ruling not be a full season? Like, he just defined it. He just came out aggressively because he feels confident he knows what's going to happen. He's testing the temperature of everybody. And then the league, the designee will give and grant the full season suspension with the necessity to reapply in 2023. And he's getting the temperature. How much backlash will he get by circumventing Sue Robinson's decision? And not to mention, if you look at the verbiage really closely, Roger Goodell says Sue Robinson supports all of this. Sue Robinson's determination was clear. It was very precise. It was very precise that Watson was, in Sue Robinson's eyes, and if you read Sue Robinson's write-up, Sue Robinson definitely says that Watson, according to the investigation, was, in a sense, in her eyes, wrong, on the wrong side of the assault, and definitely did assault those individuals that the NFL investigated. And so Roger Goodell is basically setting up a potential season-long suspension explanation off the back of Sue Robinson's write-up. Because Sue Robinson's write-up all but says he's out for the year. Sue Robinson wrote it in a way that said he did this, he did that, he is responsible, and then all of a sudden she says 6 games at the end of it. So what Roger Goodell's doing with his very careful verbiage is confirming that Sue Robinson agrees with everything the NFL is about to do, except for the number of games, which he's going to modify, and it's going to be a full season. It's going to be a full season. If you believe it's going to be less than a full season, you are, in my opinion, not looking at the angle the NFL is coming from in this. Goodell won't lose the appeal. Goodell will lose the appeal to make himself look like he tried and washed his hands. He's not going to lose the appeal. Goodell is making full decision. Like, he has a designee, but Goodell's making full decision. Now, here's the interesting part. And Tony, the attorney, might be calling in a little bit less than an hour to go over the details on this. I'll ask him about this. But if Watson ends up missing the entire 2022 NFL season, his $1 million salary, he got $65 million bonus. His $1 million salary doesn't get paid out until 2023, which means he won't get his $66 million for 2023. That will be moved to 2024 and so on. So the NFL is most likely going to get their season-long suspension granted, okay, by Roger Goodell through the appointee that's going to make the decision for Roger Goodell, and it's all a bunch of puppet strings. Like, Roger Goodell has a heavy hand one moment, like Tony the attorney said, and not a heavy hand the other moment. He's prepping you for a heavy hand. He's telling you by coming out and saying predatory behavior and egregious that he's ready to come down hardcore on Watson, and he's going to be out the year. I think he's measuring what kind of backlash he's getting by overruling Sue Robinson's 6-game suspension. As far as I'm seeing, as far as I'm hearing, no one cares about him going from 6 games to a year because the majority of people want Watson off the field for a year. Whether you disagree with that or not is a whole other topic. The NFL wants him off the field. The NFL is creating this process to where he can't really escape it. The next step for the NFLPA and for Watson's camp is to take this thing to the federal, to the courts. And once they take this to the courts, they can potentially file a restraining order that may potentially let Watson play in 2022 in week 1. There is a pathway for Watson to play week 1 if they go to court. They go to federal court. They get a restraining order against the NFL, putting the suspension on hold, and Watson could potentially play week 1. It's absolutely crazy. If anybody says they know exactly what's going to happen, all I know is Goodell's going to come down with a year-long suspension. That I almost feel certain of. Whether the NFL gets taken to court and loses, that's a whole nother situation. You know, that's a whole nother situation, and they could lose in court. However, the NFL has a very good track record in court. So the odds are very strong that the NFL would win this case in court. He's setting a new precedent for future cases, says Ron Navy. Ron Navy, you also had a super chat at the beginning of the show. I apologize, I haven't gotten to that yet. If 29 is old, what is 45? In NFL years, I don't know that people make it to 45. But it's like dog years in the NFL. 29 is washed up at the running back position. Not so much at the quarterback or wide receiver positions. 32 is about the drop-off year for wide receivers. 31. Running backs used to be 29, 30. Now it's 26, 27. A lot of OGs don't like to let go of the 30-year-old mark. They think that 27, 28 is still safe. It's not. So that's the Deshaun Watson news. The Melvin Gordon news, Melvin Gordon injured his foot. Javonte season is not yet unleashed completely, so calm down. Don't go drafting him in the first round. Don't go trading for him in the first round, not because he can't earn that. I've already told you, I fully expect Javonte Williams to be an absolute monster in 2022. No matter what. Nothing's holding this kid back. I don't care. I don't care. Watson full year, Browns immediately sue to void contract. They can't void the first 2 years of the contract. Here's the way the contract breaks down, Michael KCPA. It is fully guaranteed. The first 2 years are fully guaranteed, no matter what. Fully guaranteed. They could take them to court on it. They're not going to win. It's fully guaranteed. The verbiage, everything locks in Watson's first 2 years, $130 million fully guaranteed. The only thing that they can do after that, Michael KCPA, is they can only go after voiding the contract if there are new cases that arise. They can't even void the contract off the old cases, Michael KCPA. They didn't protect themselves. There's no voiding of this contract unless there's new cases, according to the new breakdown of it. We've had different people talk on this, but that's the new interpretation of the contract. Fully guaranteed first 2 years and only some ambiguity on the remaining parts of the years. This is awful. This is the worst trade in NFL history. The Cleveland Browns made the worst trade in NFL history. Better not be 12 game suspension since only hurts the Browns fans. It's going to be more than 12. It's going to be the full season, bro. You're not going to get lucky enough to get 12 games. There are a lot of people that I think are rooting for Watson because they're Browns fans, or the innocent until proven guilty stance. Totally agree with it. Totally agree with it. As far as what the NFL can do, they can do whatever they want. And did he violate the league's personal conduct policy? You bet he did. You bet he did. So stop arguing that he didn't violate, not you, Smitty, but stop arguing that he didn't violate the personal conduct policy, because he did. And Sue Robinson said that in 100 different ways. So that's what the NFL is going to take if they have to go into court. So we'll see how this plays out, but it's definitely not a good look. What was this? Browns Watson is scheduled to start. So this is what I said on Twitter, and this is what I firmly believe. So you guys can interpret this the way you want. This is the way I interpret the NFL's stance and how they're going to react to this information. So Ian Rappaport reported the Browns say QB Watson is scheduled to start the preseason opener versus the Jaguars on Friday. I'm telling you, this is what I said on Twitter. This certainly will have the NFL push the 1-year ban decision ahead to avoid these optics. This settles it. The announcement is before Friday evening. And that's how I feel. There's no way the league wants Watson to touch the field and create the bad optics that it would create and then rip him from the field. They don't want any momentum on that side. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I just feel like I feel like in my gut, there's no way the NFL lets him hit the field. There's no way. There's no way. That is all of the news that we have. But now, ladies and gentlemen, now we have an announcement to make. Okay? Let's talk about this. Here we are. Look at these beautiful people right here. Is that music too loud? Let me see if I can turn this music down. Manscaped. Boy, am I excited about this partnership here with Manscaped. Support for the Fantasy Football Show brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide. This link is pinned in the live chat. Join more than 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SMITTY. The code SMITTY. Okay? Look at this. Look at this. Manscaped.com, code SMITTY. Your boys will thank you for it. There was a live stream once, a number of live streams that I almost missed because of a nick or two trying to take care of the jewels. And now that Manscaped is here, I don't have that problem anymore. Almost missed a live stream due to a nick using the competition. Essentially, the difference between using some kind of other razor and using the products over at Manscaped. Let's take a look at these. And actually, hold on. Let's continue. The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, it's a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find a Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, crop preserver ball deterrent, crop reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. And look at these. Look at this right here. Look at this right here. LED light. Unbelievable. Unbelievable product. First off, the Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever. The 4th generation trimmer features cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and also has a 400K LED spotlight that you need for precision shaving. Let's send the boys. Let's send the boys to the moon.
To the moon.
The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps reduce nicks and snags and tugs in those delicate nose holes. And like I said, imagine using the competition, something that sounds a little like that. I mean, look at this stuff. This stuff is just unbelievable. Get this out here. We're just unboxing this whole thing. Charger. Sleek. Unreal. USB cord, cable. It comes with it all. And as I was mentioning earlier, look at this. The crop reviver. And this is the crop preserver. Here's the bag that I spoke about to hold your goodies in. Here are the boxer briefs that I spoke of. Look at these beauties. Look at these beauties. And here, finally, which I've already spoke about, this is the one I was reading on right now. This right here, this bad boy, is the Weed Whacker. It's also waterproof and provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate nose holes. Look at this thing. All right. The Crop Preserver Ball Deterrent and Crop Reviver Ball Toner will change the way you approach your hygiene. Trust me when I say this, fellas, your balls will thank you. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts, the Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers, which I just showed you, and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to a whole nother level. It's time to take care of yourself. So go to manscaped.com, get 20% off plus free shipping worldwide. Promo code SMEDDY. Manscaped.
Let's go! Mashed potatoes!
Send the boys to the moon. Send the boys to the moon, ladies and gentlemen. Send the boys to the moon. I mean, what else can I say? Look, these products are amazing. They have sent me this stuff. If anybody has used these products, speak up. Tell everybody how good they are. The technology, the quality of the build, the weed whacker. That's the weed whacker. This is the 4.0. Look at that bad boy. Stay groomed. Stay groomed. Promo code Smitty. Take care of your boys. Take care of the boys. Manscaped.com. Link is pinned in the live chat. It's also in the description. Let's go. Appreciate everybody. 202 watching. And only, what are we at? 72 thumbs up. Appreciate everybody here. People are getting Manscaped left and right, and people are going to remember it. Congrats on the 12K. Thank you, B-Man. We hit 12K for those joining us. 12K. 12K.
Let's go! Mashed potatoes!
Yeah, buddy. 12K. I think we go straight to the voicemail segment.
It's voicemail time. Drop a voicemail at the Fantasy Football Show on the gram. Tell your grandma.
He'll punch you in the throat.
All right. Let's hit the voicemails. First up, voicemail group number 1, the Bruce.
Hey Smitty, this is my opinion on Penny and Gordon. Can't you just draft Javonte and Walker and make the other two your super handcuff, or no?
Penny and Walker. Yeah, I mean that you can, and you can get Penny and Walker both late enough. We've talked about that before. Manscaped. Sergio says, "I love Manscaped. I always do my heart shape." I don't know what that means. Appreciate you, Sergio. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate you. Yeah, you can draft Penny and Kenny Walker both very, very late. You could kind of go your running back too. You could kind of go your running back too with that combo if you were to, like, let's say, build all over the place. Ryan, appreciate you. Support Manscaped. Eliminate the funk. Trim up your junk. Appreciate you, James. Guys, click that link in the Manscaped, in the live chat, that Manscaped link. Use promo code Smitty. Get some. All right, this next one's from Jim.
Hey, Smitty. Mike Williams has really closed the gap on Keenan Allen and their ADP. I did a mock draft last night, and I'm in an underdog best ball draft right now. And in both of those drafts, Mike Williams went before Keenan Allen. Do you agree with that ADP? And which Chargers wide receiver do you want this year in redraft?
I mean, I used to like Mike Williams more because you could get him in round 5, and Keenan Allen would go in round 3. And sometimes people take Keenan Allen really early in round 2. If you don't mind, I'm going to package up my Manscaped products in the nice nifty bag while we talk. So now that they're going around the same place, no, I'm not super high on drafting Mike Williams over Keenan Allen. I wouldn't do it. I would draft Keenan Allen over Mike Williams all day long. It doesn't mean I don't love Mike Williams as the crafty, better wide receiver at the end of the day, but like, you just can't invest in that draft capital because it's not packaging any of the risk that we know that exists with Mike Williams, the disappearing, the injuries. It's weird. It's weird that I'm not higher on both wide receivers, like to the point where I'm putting one of them in round 2, one of them in round 3, because Herbert is my number 1 quarterback in fantasy football. But my explanation really does come down to, you don't really know which one is going to be the alpha dog, because Mike Williams has the capability. He proved it in the first 5 weeks of the season in 2022. He was the best wide receiver on the team by far. He was a top 5 wide receiver through about 5 games. But you just don't really know. And then there's the Eckler factor. Eckler is like one of the best receiving options on the team. So it's not like you're miscalculating by being a little lower on Keenan Allen and Mike Williams than you should be, because Eckler's in this equation. So I'd probably say no way I'm drafting him near the same. If Mike Williams is going that high, I probably won't own him. I loved him in the 5th or 6th round, but now he's going like in round 3 and 4. It's way too early. So I'm going to say negative on drafting Mike Williams high.
Hey, Smitty, I was offered the other day in a 10-team Superflex Dynasty League. I was offered a 2023 first and Miles Sanders for Justin Fields. My other quarterbacks are Josh Allen, which I love, Jared Goff, and Daniel Jones. What's your thoughts on that trade?
That's so tough because Superflex is so tough. I mean, I'd rather have the first round. Let's see. What was the player again?
I was offered a 2023 first and Miles Sanders for Justin Fields.
I mean, Fields might be worth more in a Superflex given your situation, but I probably roll with Goff and take the first rounder and try and turn it into a better quarterback. But it's really tough. I'm not huge on Fields. I'm not necessarily against him. I'm kind of indifferent, but I don't know if he's worth the first rounder. If you believe the first rounder is late, maybe I'm okay with it. But I think it kind of depends on that. You know, if it could be the 1.1, then I'm definitely going after it. If it's like the 12, I don't know that I like it. Kenny.
Hey, Smitty, has your stance on Deontay Johnson changed at all with the 2-year signing? Or are you still fading him?
I mean, I think you've heard me speak in very big length after that extension. Everything I've said negatively lately has been after the extension because the extension's kickstarting a whole bunch of Deontay talk. So yeah, no, I haven't. My idea of him hasn't gone up. I think it's a tough wide receiver room to figure because Deontay was made with Big Ben. Big Ben makes wide receivers and then they vanish when Big Ben's not around. I'm not saying Deontay will not be a top 12, top 15 wide receiver. It's certainly possible. I just feel like the odds aren't extremely high. And at the cost of entry, which sometimes is in the 3rd round, but at least in the top of the 4th, it's just too many red flags for me to be going in that direction when you can get a DK who could probably survive a better quarterback, confusion situation. They both have confusing quarterback situations that are hard to make out, but and they both have 2 quarterbacks. You have Geno and Locke for DK. You got Pickett and Trubisky for Deontay and those Pittsburgh wide receivers. So there are avenues to take a different direction if the starting quarterback doesn't work well. That should be a little comforting to DK owners and Deontay owners and Claypool owners and any Pittsburgh Steeler, fantasy player owner, because if things don't work out, you got another quarterback to at least try out. Now, granted, none of the 4 quarterbacks involved are like superstars in my opinion, but we're definitely looking at I think a more disappointing year than impressive year out of Deontay if your cost of entry is the 3rd round. If it's the top of 4 or late 3rd round, they're just safer players. Breece Hall is safer by a mile. I'd rather draft like a Breece Hall and get my wide receiver later in round 6 or whatever, and get St. Brown and have St. Brown over Deontay, but at a cheaper cost than get Deontay in round 3 or early round 4. I'm just not about it.
Hey, Smitty, how much heart can you put in one player? Like, I played high school football with Mike Gesicki. I was opposing him, so I draft him every year. Is that something you do or no?
Only the Bruce would ask this question. I love it. How much heart do I put in drafting a player? 0. Like, do I let my heart get the best of me and not draft with my head? It happens to us all. It's called bias, and we can't always see it when we're being biased, right? That's the whole nature of being biased. You don't really know why you're biased. You just are. But no, don't go drafting consciously, biasly, when Gesicki, Gesicki's okay. I don't think he's a horrible, player. But I certainly am not going to draft him because if you played football with him or you went to the same school. But if you know something we don't, bro, then definitely. Kenny had another question.
Do you have a line in the sand for DJ Moore, or is he always gone before you even have a chance to get there?
Yeah, usually I let somebody else take that dive because he's going like in the 3rd to 4th round. range. Yeah, guys, that link, Manscaped link in the live chat and in the description. Click it. Use promo code Smitty. Get 20% off worldwide free shipping. Your boys will thank you for it. Manscaped.com. Link in the description and in the live chat. DJ Moore's usually gone around, I don't know, bro. He's usually gone around, what, round four? And again, I'm more about getting Breece Hall and ETN and McLaurin and guys like that, and then, letting somebody else take that chance. I just don't know that I love going after DJ Moore unless he's falling to round 5 or 6. If he's going around 4, I don't trust his quarterback situation. And you might say, Smitty, but who trusts the Seattle Seahawks quarterback situation? Who trusts the Washington football commanding team president situation? I mean, I get those arguments in touche to some degree, but I do believe DK's more of a player that can survive bad situations and errant passes and go up and get, with his catch radius is as big as my studio. You could throw the ball just anywhere in the direction of the studio and he will grab it. And so DK's different in my opinion. DJ Moore is more of like a wide receiver that if you don't give him a good quarterback, he's not delivering. He's not delivering. I think McLaurin to some degree shares that style of play with DJ Moore, which is why McLaurin's been held back for so many years. I love Goddard, Andrew. He's been held back for so many years. But Wentz is going to get him the football a little bit better than DJ Moore is going to be receiving the football from the quarterback room over in Carolina. So as much as I don't love Carson Wentz, he is an upgrade. We probably won't see a fully unlocked McLaurin, but we might get 90%. Smitty, you got a couple Discord questions. Okay, drop them in the chat between you and I. That's great. I'll get to them. So give me McLaurin over DJ Moore. Give me DK over DJ Moore. I feel like the situations are just better. And in DK's, maybe it's not better, but he survives it better, if that makes sense. Love Goddard, Andrew. Love Goddard. Next question is from the Bruce.
Hey, Smitty, how much heart can you put in one player?
I already got that one. Okay. Next, I'm going to go to voicemail group 2. We've got this message from Asher. Asher, where you been?
Like George Pickens is having some highlight tape coming out of training camp.
Pickens.
Just wondering where the highest you would take him as his ADP climbs.
I don't know an exact. Asher, can you drop me just some kind of bar, just so we know that you're still singing and doing your music thing? Can we get a Javonte season is loading? Just kind of some freestyle, rock out. Can I get a freestyle? Javonte season is loading. You better get on the train before it's too far away. Like, give me some freestyle between you, Asher, and rock out right now. Drop me a voice message. And I should see you more often in here, Asher. Where have you been?
Hey, Smitty, looks like George Pickens is having.
So yeah, Pickens. I don't know an ADP, bro, but I'm gonna say George Pickens is definitely like in the wide receiver 4 or 5 territory potential. Maybe you don't draft him there. I'm kind of not sure. Every draft's a little different, but I think that he could be like one of your bench wide receivers. I don't know if he'd be your first bench wide receiver. Probably, hopefully not. Hopefully he can be more of a dangerous, guy that you're using much later than your 4th wide receiver, but it kind of depends on where his ADP climbs to. It also depends on who's on the board. He's kind of a guy where his ADP, you can't really call it out. Like, he's going here. He's going to be kind of all over the map. Next message from James.
You like Judy. Why? I want to know because I think Sutton wins where Russell Wilson likes to win, which is down the sidelines deep in the middle of the field. Seam routes are probably going to be KJ Hamler this year, but Judy wins in the intermediate routes. So I think that's why tight ends always struggle with Russell Wilson, is because he really doesn't target that 15 to 20 yard range. So that's my question is, why do you like Judy over Sutton? Help me out with these Broncos receivers because their ADP is practically the same.
Bro, I don't know that you can make the determination of what Judy is and what Judy isn't, or even what Sutton is and what Sutton isn't, for that matter, or Hamler. Like all three. Like, we saw Judy catch a long, deep pass that was thrown to him in practice. I think they're going to throw to him. I think you're going to be disappointed if you consider and count Judy out as a potential long, ball threat. Like, if you think he's intermediate because he was used in that fashion in an offense that couldn't throw the football down the field, similar to the Niners, they couldn't throw the football 15 yards down the field, so they developed a wide back position for Debo. So Debo could become essentially the quarterback and facilitator of the football. So to assume that Judy won't be hit downfield, I mean, we saw it. We've seen it on the field in practice, bro. Judy looks great. Sutton looks great. They both look great. Wouldn't shock me if either one became the number one. It wouldn't shock me if Hamler, who's very talented, coming off an ACL tear, could be slow starting. Wouldn't shock me if Hamler got going like in week 4, 5, 6 and started looking like the best wide receiver. I'm banking on Judy. He's the best route runner on the team. He's a top 10 route runner in the entire National Football League. We haven't seen Judy be fully unleashed. He could get hurt, but from everything I've gathered, his injuries aren't a concern in terms of like being a recidivism or anything like that. I'm going to go ahead and say Judy, but I'm not mad at anybody like Sutton's skill set a little more. They both are very different. Mike Williams or Sutton, I take Mike Williams over Sutton, to be honest. But that's me, I'd probably take Mike Williams over Judy too, but I wouldn't. I could go back and forth on that one. Dawson says, Smitty, is Javonte top 5 too high if I'm worried he won't get back to me in the second? Look, this is where it's a little frustrating for me. And I'm not mad at you, Dawson, at all. Please don't think you can't ask a question like this. It's a great, like, you asking this question, you are doing so much good. You're creating content for people that are afraid to ask this question, and you're creating an answer for people that are thinking it that won't ask it because they're busy or whatever. So first of all, let me thank you for asking this very good question that has me worried, though, when I say till I'm blue in the face, don't put the cart before the horse. Melvin Gordon injured his foot today, and everybody's celebrating that Javonte's season has kicked off. We don't know the extent of the foot injury. It could be nothing. There's a report that it may not be a concern. There's a report they're going to look at it again. And we need to make sure we absolutely don't put the cart before the horse. And I have numerous people DMing me, asking me on my text line, emailing me, asking in YouTube comments, asking in Instagram comments, asking in Twitter comments, hey, Smitty, do I draft Javonte now in the top 5 to 10 because Melvin Gordon's banged up? Are you out of your mind? You have been given a gift. You've been given a gift. This is like the waitress coming over to pour water in your glass. You put your empty glass of, down on the table. She starts pouring the water. She's halfway through pouring the water. You move the glass, get up and walk away, and she continues to pour the other half on the table. Why on earth would you not take advantage of Javonte Williams' value? This little injury here could turn into something, then we talk about it. But don't go taking Javonte in the top 5 when nothing could happen. You know what I mean? We got to wait. Don't put the cart before the horse. But I'm telling you right now, Javonte, Perturbed Peters out there, Worried Williams, Perturbed Peters, Fantasy Karens, Bobs, everybody's reacting. Zach says the background music makes you feel like you're in an Italian restaurant. That's a good vibe that I'm going for. So don't put Javonte, don't put the cart before the horse. Calm down, draft him accordingly. And I don't think taking him top 5 is going to be a wise move when you can get him in the second round. For now. And if it changes, we will adjust and adapt. And we will adjust and adapt quickly. Let me be clear, though. Javonte will be, in my opinion, a top 5 overall player. He could be the number 1 or number 2 running back in 2020. I haven't backed off that. Even though I've been hit left and right throughout the offseason with different things, I haven't backed off it. It's not stubbornness. It's not me being biased. It's not me digging my heels in. This is my evaluation. But we need to make sure we aren't taking one little piece of news and changing the direction of how we draft when we don't know what's going on. Keep stealing Javonte Williams. I took him in the 3rd round in a best ball draft last night on Underdog Fantasy, which you can go to here. Underdog Fantasy, link is down in the description. Underdog Fantasy, use promo code Smitty. They'll match up to $100 on your first deposit. Go do Underdog Fantasy. Go do the $5 puppy drafts. They're absolutely phenomenal. And you can get Javonte. I got Javonte in round 3. I don't think he's going to go from round 3 or bottom of 2 into the top 5 based on this injury yet. He might move a little bit, but don't be overreactive and miss out on the opportunity that is Javonte Williams in round 2. Okay? Let's hit the phone lines. Appreciate everybody here. Ron Navy says, where's the pizza and pasta? You know, I might have to do pizza tonight. Maybe we'll do a Costco pizza, Ron. And I'll do an Instagram live from Costco. Ron Navy, where's the pizza and pasta? Appreciate the super chat, Ron.
Thanks for the super chat. Giddy up.
Sorry, Ron. Laps are healthy.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Call into the show. Dial 602 NFL. Dong.
Appreciate you, Ron. Appreciate you. Rock out from last time that was still on the screen. Javonte moonshot. Javonte to the moon, absolutely.
To the moon.
Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed, man. Javonte's going to the moon. And people need to get on board. Let's go Smith or Damas. Appreciate that. Smitty, Swift or Javonte is now real for September 1 draft. Swift or Javonte is now real for You can't take Javonte in round 1, Mike, okay? That's kind of what we're saying. Like, go Swift and get Javonte too. You can get him in round 2. Anywhere in round 2, I'm fine. If you want to reach for Javonte at 13, 14, 15, just make sure he's your second drafted player. You know, take full advantage of Javonte's dip in ADP while it lasts. And who knows what it climbs to soon. TJ says Javonte in round 2. What's up, Ron Navy? What can I do for you, pal? You're live on the show. Ron Navy. Call back, Ron. Some kind of connection issue. Yeah, I don't know why people are... I mean, you can't get him locked in 3, though. Round 2, like, for that comment, why take him in 2 when you can get him in 3? Because he's not a lock in 3. He'll fall into 3. And I venture to say this Melvin Gordon news will move him back into the bottom of 2 on the regular. I don't think he'll go in round 3 very often after this news. What's up, Ron? You're live.
Hey. It went your said you weren't available the first time.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. If I'm taking a lap, you're taking one with me after Davis Mills over freaking Kirk Cousins. What
no
the
thanks.
hell?
No thanks. Davis Mills is a little bit of a bold call, but I'm telling you guys, he is special. And I'm not putting Davis Mills into a starter rank, like top 12. I'm putting him at 15. I put him at 15. I know it sounds bold, but I don't think that's crazy. The dude's shown a lot of promise. He was a very, very, very promising rookie last year. And you love Brandon Cooks. You know, Nico Collins is good. Damian Pierce, they've got some growing to do, but they've got something special that they're slowly building in Houston that I think a lot of people can't see yet, but it eventually will be pretty impressive.
Yeah, kind of like Kirk Cousins and Jefferson and KJ Osborne or Smith. They got something pretty special going on too.
Yeah.
And yet you leave them out. Total disrespect.
Yeah. Cousins won't be in my top 15, Ron. Probably not going to change all year, but I appreciate you. Hey, Ron, question. Do you think Javonte Williams' ADP, based on this foot injury that is obscure, we don't know if it's small or not. A lot of people are taking it and trying to run with it in a crazy fashion, and they shouldn't be doing that. They should be taking it slow. Like, definitely be getting excited, right? But my question for you is, does Javonte's value, if it was dipping into round 3, do you think it goes into round 2, at least the bottom of round 2, because of the Melvin Gordon news?
You know, it might as a knee-jerk reaction until they actually come out and say, yeah, Gordon's good to go. He just hurt his little pinky toe. Hey, that kind of rhymed, didn't it?
Yeah. But do you think
so? Until we know, I mean, you might get an initial knee-jerk reaction and pushing him up ADP, but then again, he could go right back down once Gordon is fine. It comes out Gordon's fine, and he might not even change right now if they come out with the news quick enough on Gordon.
Yeah, they might not. Now let's just play out all the scenarios. If let's say Javonte Williams or Melvin Gordon ends up having a serious injury, what do you think the best ball ADP is going to look like within like 2 days? Do you think Javonte Williams is going in the top 5 overall if, let's say, Melvin Gordon was projected to miss like half the season or more? Where do you predict the ADP to go for Javonte in best ball off of a piece of news like that? And again, no one knows that that's happening. It could be absolutely nothing. People are overreacting. People are putting the cart before the horse. Even I'm telling you that. This is a person that's been telling you Javonte Williams is going to explode. Melvin gets hurt, and I'm not running out here trying to pretend there's something here until we know. It's definitely par for the course. Melvin Gordon's 29 years old, has mileage up the wazoo, and he's not going to stay healthy if they feed him a hefty amount of volume, in my opinion. So, Ron, if Melvin Gordon, let's say, hypothetically, has a huge injury that they look at, where is his ADP on Underdog 2 days from now?
I'd say anywhere from the highest, I would say 7, and 7 to 12. The highest, I would say 7.
Yeah, I think 5 to 8. I think right around there, but that's close. We're pretty close.
I don't think anybody's going to change on JT, and nobody's going to change on McCaffrey, even though he's a big risk. And nobody's going to change on Cooper Kupp, Jefferson, or Chase. And that's 5 picks right there. So that's why I said, probably 7. Because you got Eckler in there, and he could go 6. But you also got Najee in there, too. So depending on personal preference, that's why I said 7 to 12.
I think Najee moves ahead of Javonte moves ahead of Najee very quickly if there's no competition. Because think about it. No competition. Better offense, better situation in general, more red zone targets, all the work, more broken tackles from last year, just more impressive, even though it's a condensed body of work. I think people are worried enough about Najee that they probably would put and bump Javonte ahead of him. Plus, Najee, I'm seeing Najee go on the regular at like 10 overall, 11 overall on Underdog. I did 3 Underdog drafts last night by myself just because I love doing them, and you guys can do them too. Just the idea of these $5 puppy drafts, doing them over and over and over, and having a chance at 200K, having a chance at 100K. I recommend everybody go over to Underdog. Link is in the description. Use promo code Smitty and just get involved in these, because what better way to play fantasy than to have these additionally in your back pocket, so that when Sundays come, and let's say you play 2 leagues, Ron, let's say you play in 2 leagues, and let's say you draft McCaffrey in both of them, and McCaffrey goes down, then your seasons are over. And if you don't have Underdog, Tony's trying to call. Tony, I'm sorry. Tony's trying to call right now. Hey, let me get him on and call back, Ron, after
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. You're live on the Fantasy Football Show.
Hey, what's up, Smitty? Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, I got to hang up on you because I've got another caller coming in. Call back right after, okay?
Okay.
Who is this, by the way?
Tony from PA.
Tony?
Tony.
Oh, Tony. I thought Tony. No, Tony's trying to call too. This is a different Tony trying to call. I got 2 Tonys trying to call.
Tony.
Yeah, Tony, call back. I'm waiting for Tony Turley. All right, hold on.
Okay.
Call back. That was odd. Hey, what's up, Tony? Tony, you're
Smitty,
live.
Is that you?
Is this Tony?
Yeah. Hey, Smitty. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Tony. Sorry about that. I didn't realize you were calling at that moment, and I thought I had your number in there. Okay. What's up, my man? Appreciate you calling in.
Sure. Happy to do it.
So
what the hell's going on with Gordon?
So Gordon hurt his foot. There's an initial report that it might not be a big deal. They're going to reevaluate it. So there's like no information on it, and people are just they're almost overreacting, you know. And so I'm trying to back people off because we still want to take full advantage of Javonte's ADP, which is in round 2.
Sure.
Probably won't sit in round 3 anymore. I was on Underdog last night doing all kinds of Underdog drafts. Promo code Smitty. They match up to $100 of your first deposit, people. Promo code Smitty,
Yep.
Underdog Fantasy, link in the description. I was doing draft after draft, Tony. Draft after draft. And a couple of them, I couldn't get Javonte in round 3 at the right place. But he fell into round 3 a couple times out of the four or five that I did last night. And in one of them, I did end up getting him. And so, like, Javonte's going in round 3 prior to this news because people took that pitch count report and they started drawing conclusions. I had people DMing me all week, like the last couple days, just saying, Smitty, what do you think about Javonte now that they've announced, you know, a 50-50 timeshare? And I'm like, what are you talking about? No one announced anything. They talked about pitch counts.
Yeah.
Najee had a pitch count talked about with his usage yesterday, and no one's talking about that. It's crazy. But Javonte, if Melvin Gordon is hampered by this foot or something comes of it that's worse than it initially seems, like there's some kind of broken bone in it, you know, we don't know yet. It could be nothing. It could be something. Javonte's got to skyrocket to the top 5 to 8 overall, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to get you on here. So
he's a great player, and obviously Russell helps. So
yeah. So we're talking about Watson, and on the phone, let me put a graphic up so people know who's on the phone. This is Tony on the phone. That guy that called in before you, his name was Tony too, so I was confused. I'm like, Tony? He's like, yeah. Attorney Tony. Okay. So I got you on screen here. So Tony's an attorney in Ohio, right, Tony?
that's correct. Yep.
And Tony's got a lot of knowledge in these areas of law. And Tony's going to give us his interpretation of some stuff. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. I'm not sure if you've been following everything that's been going on today and yesterday, but let me recap for you, and then I would love to get your opinion on the entire situation. And you tell me if you agree or disagree, and it's okay if we have different opinions. We usually share similar opinions on this, though. I will say up front. Goodell came out and said that the league is pursuing the full 1-year suspension. And he came out and said that the actions were egregious and predatory behavior. And if anybody's followed this, Roger Goodell hasn't taken a hardline stance on Watson or judged him in public yet. So for him to come out and say this before his appointee is about to drop the actual ruling on the appeal, it's very telling to me. It's a telegraph, a measuring of the temperature of reactions of him circumventing the 6-game suggestion by Sue Robinson, former retired judge. And I think that's all it is. I don't think he would have decided to now, out of all times, use these terms if he didn't know exactly what was going to happen. Would you agree on that?
I would say it's unlikely that he would go out on that limb unnecessarily. So, in effect, my answer is yes, I would agree. He must have some reasonable belief that there's, at a minimum, going to be added games, if not a full year suspension, to even risk going out on that limb. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I agree.
So
yeah,
now,
I would say the odds of the suspension staying at 6 games are almost zero.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
I think the odds of it being under double digits is 0. I think, could it be 10, 12, 14? I mean, it could. There's a possibility for sure that could be that. But that would be Goodell, like you said earlier on the last call, heavy hand one moment, not heavy hand the other. We really don't know what Goodell's capable of because he can bounce all over the place. My next question is, if the league suspends Watson for the entire season with the anticipation or the added piece where he has to reapply in 2023, he's not even eligible to come back for sure. He's got to reapply, make sure there's no other, issues that arise or whatever. To my knowledge, the NFLPA could take it to the federal court, and they could potentially have an avenue where they file a a restraining order against the NFL that will allow Watson to actually play week 1. Have you heard that?
Yeah, that is possible. Oh, yeah, it's possible. Yeah, it would, in effect, be a temporary restraining order or preliminary. It starts as a TRO. The essential elements of that are the reasonable likelihood of prevailing ultimately, plus immediate harm if the TRO is not granted, plus harm to the other side if the TRO is ultimately lifted. In general, and I don't pretend to know exactly what Watson's attorneys or the NFLPA's attorneys would argue, but in general, I would say they'd have a reasonably good shot at getting that TRO granted. Now, the issue then becomes, once the TRO is granted, that's normally for only 2 weeks. And then you go into a hearing to extend that, which then turns it into a preliminary injunction. The essential elements remain basically the same, except that there's a much deeper, I shouldn't say much, there is a deeper consideration of the likelihood of prevailing. So, yeah, it's possible. I would say that a TRO is reasonably likely. But for fantasy football purposes, as you and I discussed the last time, we got to keep in mind that, I should say for football purposes, can you really presume that Deshaun Watson is going to be the quarterback in week 7 if he happens to be the quarterback in week 1? I don't think so. There's just too much. There's too much going on here, including the details of what Judge Robinson put in her report and her decision.
Yeah. Everything that I've read and heard is that the NFL's got such a strong track record in federal court that they have a good case. Plus, even though Sue Robinson's, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're the expert here, even though Sue Robinson handed down a 6-game recommendation, her write-up all but confirmed everything the league is saying, which is so odd. It's almost like she sat on the keyboard and accidentally deleted a 1 and it was supposed to be a 16-game suspension or something. Because it was like, you know what I mean? Because everything she wrote, it was like, he is, she practically is calling him, the word guilty is wrong, but acknowledging that the potential assault looks likely in terms of the NFL's investigation. And so her write-up was like this, and this, and it's like, oh my God, she's going to give him a full year, and then it's like 6 games. Like, what? So the league is arguing that Sue Robinson's argument is helping them go after the full year. And that's probably saving face on circumventing her actual decision, which is a bad look for the NFL. They set this process up, which is so backwards, where Goodell is the person that gets appealed to, and then he makes final and all decision when he's trying to put her in charge of making the decision so he can separate himself. It's just a game of puppets. And Goodell's even got this designee that he's got full control of because of what just happened with Sue Robinson. He doesn't want to happen again. So that's why I think he came out with strong verbiage, because he knows exactly what's going to happen.
I think it would be risky to conclude that he knows exactly what's going to happen. What I would say again is the odds of him going out on that limb with absolutely no reasonable belief are pretty low. I will say, if you don't mind my sort of unraveling your last question or statement, truly painting a proper picture of Judge Robinson's report is a little bit complicated. Now, let's start with the headline. To me, as an attorney and someone who loves the NFL, I will tell you, I read her report earlier today. I had not had a chance to read it until today. There is a particular statement in there that, to me, changes the entire calculus. And it's been completely ignored by the media. And that is, on page 7 of her report, she says the following, quote, Mr. Watson has not testified that he had physical interest and inadvertently touched the therapist here. Instead, he's categorically denied the allegations against him, including that he ever developed...
Watch the verbiage, Tony, just to keep it a family show.
I know. I just said the physical interest, the
Yeah.
the physical manifestation of a male interest in,
There you go.
Interplay. In other words, he's saying, "Hey, I didn't even have that thing that they're claiming I had."
Okay.
And her very next sentence is, "It's difficult to give weight to a complete denial when weighed against the credible testimony of the investigators who interviewed the therapists and other third parties." In other words, he's just flat out lying about that particular element of what happened here. That's the kind of thing, because ultimately, we talked about this the other day, Smitty. Ultimately, in a way, what we're talking about here is a PR battle. We're not really talking about a legal battle, because as I explained a couple days ago, the NFL is an entertainment industry. It is not the government. It's not an entity that has, direct contractual or statutory duties to the fans. It can do whatever it wants. Imagine Hollywood. Imagine telling a producer of a Hollywood movie that he or she is not allowed to hire whatever actor or actress he or she chooses. We just don't do that. It's a private business. The NFL is a private, purely for entertainment business. So the reality is they can kind of do whatever they want. The question is, what does the public relations calculus come out to? And for Watson to lie, which I had not heard until I read this report, just flat out lie about that particular aspect of this is a huge mistake, because it's going to kill him in the PR. Now, again, I don't know why, but for some reason, the media has completely ignored that element of this. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. So,
because again, I'll tell you, and I know that you don't want me to use certain words and be inappropriate. I won't, I promise. But there are reasons why the criminal matters did not proceed. And it has to do with effectively, I'm going to use the phrase assumption of risk. The young women involved had some degree of knowledge of what was going to happen. But for Watson to deny that a particular event occurred in each one of these cases, that's a bad move. That is a huge mistake on his part and the part of his attorneys. Mm-hmm. So I got to believe that that's what the NFL is so angry about. It's not the 6 games. Frankly, that's going back to Judge Robinson's report. Her point is, hey, the NFL didn't really define these terms ahead of time. And for purposes of notice, which is a very important constitutional and contract concept, you can't hold someone to a contract if the terms are completely undefined. And that's one of the points that she makes in her report. She then talks about the varying degrees of discipline, and she's absolutely dead right. The 6 games, just so you know, made sense. Except that she's kind of overlooking the reality, which is that it's really a PR battle. Mm-hmm. And for Watson to lie is going to lead to him taking the brunt of this. I agree, not so much because of the number of complainants or the fact that there were civil lawsuits or the fact that he didn't settle them immediately. He is going to end up getting suspended for a year, probably, at minimum 10 games, because he's lying about what happened in that room. That's the problem.
Yeah. And just to circle back before we head to Kamara, because I think everybody does want to hear about Kamara one more time. Before we circle back to Kamara, I would say this. I would say the problem, though, and I think I could speak for the both of us and have you redefine it better than I'm verbalizing it. But all it takes is one additional case to throw an entire wrench into everything that the defense has lined up to get him back on the field, because one more case and there's potentially 66 to 100 individuals that he met with. And you got to think that handfuls of those people were being talked to about coming forward and decided not to. I mean, that's an assumption on my part, but I think it's a pretty accurate assumption given there were 66 to maybe more. Some say 100, but we can only really use that 60 number that's been more reported on than the 100. Well, but all it takes is one more individual to come forward, completely new evidence, completely separate situation, completely separate room on a different day, different time, different action. The consequences or the severity of what happened could have been lesser or could have been more, and the NFL has an obligation to investigate that claim the same way they investigated the other 22 claims or 24, whichever amount that they actually investigated. So if somebody came forward, the NFL couldn't just say, "Oh, he already told us about that," which was a good point you made the other day. If the NFL is aware of it, maybe it's included, but at the same time, they've got to talk to the individual. They've got to do an investigation, and maybe they do it quickly, but I don't see how he survives. Even there's so many different things that could trip him up. Like every time something goes good for him, something else arises, and so, you know.
Well, yeah, and my response would be the same as it was it 2, 3, 4 days ago when we talked. Yeah, I agree, except that the way these things work is that if his attorneys convinced him to disclose every single one that he could remember, and then his team effectively disclosed every single event to the NFL as part of its initial investigation, it would then be all but impossible for the NFL to say, "Oh, we didn't know about that one." However, you're right that if there's a single one, even one, of a claimant saying he did the same thing to me and he had not previously disclosed that to the NFL, meaning before the claimant comes forward, then yeah, it completely throws a wrench in the whole thing and we're right back to square one, more or less. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So on to Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is a curious case as well because Alvin Kamara has pushed his trial forward 60 days. That most likely puts an early suspension out of the realm of possibility. Although the NFL, if like let's say a video got released and it was horrible, they would most certainly put him on the exempt list, even if it was paid until they made it, determination or whatever. But assuming no video is released and nothing gets worse for him, do you believe that a trial has a really high likelihood of beginning before the season ends? And we talked about this before, and I think we were kind of on the fence, both of us, whether he could see a late season suspension or whether the NFL, like if a trial got started, the NFL wouldn't want that. Him playing on going to a trial during the week and playing on Sundays, it would be bad optics. So they would probably put him on the exempt list paid and not punish him, so to speak, because he's paid, and let the process play out and then make a determination. Do you have any different thoughts on what you've heard, or what are you thinking with the Alvin Kamara situation?
Well, I would start with a couple of very specific limitations on my comments. I have not followed the Kamara saga nearly as closely. I'm vaguely familiar with the essential allegations. I am not a criminal lawyer. It's not what I do. I am certainly not licensed in the state of California, which I think is, state of Nevada. This was in Las Vegas, as I recall. So I can't speak to the criminal process in the state of Nevada at all specifically. However, my vague recollection is that I don't know that this was a scheduled trial as opposed to a scheduled probable cause hearing. I'm a little unclear on that. If it is merely a probable cause hearing, well, then there's no way there's going to be a trial before the Super Bowl. It's not going to happen.
That's good information.
If on the other hand it's a trial, then yeah, I would say exactly what I said a couple days ago. Look, if they show up and they start presenting evidence of an assault and battery, and this video is then made public, I can't imagine that the NFL would let him play. Let's say the trial starts on a Monday but doesn't end until the next week. How are they going to let him play on Sunday? They just can't. And look, once the video comes out, if it comes out, again, I'll go back to the NFL is all about the PR. And if he looks like a complete jerk, like he's willing to hurt people, then yeah, he's going to get suspended. And when you're talking about the Saints and their offense and whether or not to draft, Jameis Winston or Kamara or Michael Thomas, then yeah, you need to know there's a real chance he will not make it through the season. However, the odds are reasonably good that he can't. It's comparatively unlikely that he would be suspended until that criminal matter continues.
Yeah. Well, so is there any way to look that up and find out if that is actually what whether it's a hearing or whether it was some sort of, because to my knowledge it's a hearing, but what does that mean to you? If it's a hearing, for sure, it's something you don't think a trial could get kick-started before the Super Bowl?
I would say that it's unlikely. Here, let me pull this up. I'm checking Google right now. I don't know. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. Like I say, I've been following.
I didn't tell you to be prepared for Kamara, so no problem at all. Let me see if I can look it up as well. But I believe it was a hearing. But to what kind of hearing was it? Like I said, probable cause hearing. What was the hearing? Alvin Kamara hearing. Hearing for battery case involving Alvin Kamara has been pushed back at least 2 months to October or later. According to ESPN, Kamara is facing misdemeanor and felony battery charges with evidence reportedly including video that shows him punching a victim multiple times. I guess my question would be, even if a trial didn't start, what's the? I mean, the NFL can essentially still put them on the exempt list, right? I mean, if they're worried about, I'm not trying to wish this upon Kamara, and I'm not trying to I want to make sure I give everybody the right information. I just want to make sure we aren't looking at something to where we miss the NFL's intentions here with this Watson thing, with the Kamara thing. Like, these are two of the biggest things in the spotlight lately, and it's a pretty bad optics to let him play when there's video evidence of him doing this.
Right. Then, I agree. I mean, again, as you know, the word is that there's some video showing that he may have directly assaulted an individual who was already on the ground. In other words, kicked him. If you have a video of Alvin Kamara kicking an average person laying on the ground and possibly unconscious already, what do you think the NFL is going to do? They're going to absolutely suspend him. It's going to happen. But I haven't seen that video. I don't know that there is such video. Maybe there is, or maybe there isn't. But as the NFLPA, the CBA currently reads, having read Judge Robinson's report, they have taken the position that the criminal process takes priority unless and until they have proof of conduct detrimental to the league. As you know, that's their language. And without that video becoming public, I don't know that they have that proof. Now, what Kamara and or his attorneys have told the NFL, I have no idea. No idea. Because, again, one of the things that you have, it's easy to forget that one of the things you have to think about is what exactly is the communication from the player to the league. I don't know.
Yeah.
If I could give you my best guess is Alvin Kamara will play this year unless that video leaks somehow.
What is the rights to that video? The public has the right. Did the public have the right to it? Does the attorney have the ability to release it? Like, let's say the defense attorney, the prosecutor wants to release the video. Can they? What's the right?
No.
What right do they have with that?
No. In fact, if the prosecutor openly presented it to the public, that would almost certainly be a constitutional violation. Section 1983 claim would flow from that. The prosecutor and the prosecutor's office would be named in a lawsuit by Kamara's attorneys. Now, the truth is that what usually happens is an undisclosed source, and in most cases, it's actually a police officer. Some police officer who was involved in the investigation will somehow get a copy of the video and very, very quietly and very, surreptitiously somehow get it to a media person. That's what happens most of the time when things like that get out. The idea that it's somehow, subject to a FOIA request, for example, a Freedom of Information Act, or that a newspaper can say, hey, no, absolutely not. That's a criminal matter. It's all protected by various statutory privileges.
And these things do get out, though, and then they can't prove where they came from, and then everybody's like, it's
That's
out
correct.
already.
What can be done at that point? It's out. We don't know who did it. What do you want me to do? Pretend to, tell everybody they have to delete it? Well, it's too late.
What's the likelihood of something like that slipping out, the video getting out in these situations?
Well, I mean, the Ray Rice video got out, didn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't there? I don't remember. Was there video of the Adrian Peterson thing?
I don't know that there's a video on that.
Kareem Hunt, the Kareem Hunt video.
There was video on Kareem Hunt, and that got out.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
two out of the last two have got out.
I mean, it certainly could. I wouldn't be shocked if it did, but I don't know that you can presume. Again, that presumes that the report is even true. I mean, look, a lot of NFL players have various degrees of both intellect and emotional problems. Is somebody in Alvin Kamara's position dumb enough to get into a physical altercation with an average person? I guess. Hell, Ray Rice did it. Kareem Hunt did it. And that, by the way, Hunt broke my heart. I live in Toledo, so he's my boy.
Okay, so I mean, this is a tough one because we have had these videos leak before. If it were to leak, he's not playing. If it doesn't leak,
I can't see.
Yeah,
I don't see how he could.
If it doesn't leak, then you think he plays all the entire regular fantasy season without question, right? If he does, just based on
speaking solely to the question of the process of the criminal matter, I would say that the fact that it's already been moved back to October makes it more likely than not, greater than 50%, that he plays this season.
Okay,
that's the best we can do. The best we can do is give everybody a percentage.
And odds that the video gets leaked. 5%,
oh boy,
5%,
I don't know,
10%,
20% maybe.
Okay, so really we factor that in, and we don't know what the percentage is. Oh man, this is a tough one because I have a lot of people that. Here's my advice, and tell me if you think this is good advice. If you're gonna invest in them, do it in one league. Don't do it in multiple leagues. Do it in one league so your entire fantasy season isn't done. If you want them that badly in round 2. And that's where people are going to take them round 2. Do it in one league only.
Yeah, I completely look. Smitty, you're the fantasy guy, but my take on him is if he's in the 3rd, I would consider it because it's just such a huge upside. Anything before the 3rd, I just think it's too risky.
Yeah,
I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. All right, Tony, any other legal matters you want to discuss? I appreciate you coming on here and discussing the Watson situation. I'm trying to think what other legal. Anybody have any questions for Tony? Any other legal situations going on in the NFL right now? I can't think of anything that off the top of my head that people might have questions about, but we should do this regularly when we have anything, that's got, any kind of legal jargon that needs to be hashed out. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, Smitty, you're on at 7 Eastern at that time of the evening here at East. Mm-hmm. You can call me. It's fine. No big deal. If I can take it, I will. And if I can't take it, I won't.
All right. I'll keep that
in
mind.
But I will say, I love talking to you. And I really, by the way, I got into one mock draft last night. That was a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you jumping in. But appreciate you, Tony. Yeah. Everybody here loves the feedback they're saying. Do you have any legal advice? Do you have any legal take on Javonte Williams' season? And what's the odds of it legally fully loading by mid-season? Are we looking at a 50% chance, 100% chance? What are we looking at, Tony? Give us your legal expert opinion.
Well, here's what I would say. I am thinking about suing myself for only getting one Javonte in my dynasty.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, one other question I have. Can Kamara plea his way out of this situation in a way that the league wouldn't suspend him, to your knowledge? Or does he have to win the case?
Well, the NFL current CBA, if I understand it correctly, I don't pretend to be an expert on it, but it seems to take the position that they wait for the criminal matter to play out if it's a purely criminal question. And the only thing that can affect that is and again, Judge Robinson laid it out very well in her report, there are various violations that are per se subject to discipline. One of those is, first, one of them is physical injury to another individual, even if there is no criminal matter. In other words, it says criminal or not, whether your state crime authority, in this case the prosecuting attorney in Nevada, believes that it's criminal, if you physically injure someone or present serious threat of physical harm, that's enough to be suspended. So he could be suspended even if he pleads out. if the NFL decides to pursue an investigation beyond the criminal matter.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to clarify.
In a lot of ways, yeah, and if he's smart, he will plead it. There's no question that that's the smart way to go.
Yeah, if he pleaded out, he would be suspended for how many games, do you think, if you had to guess?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. If he pleads out, he may not be suspended at all, or he may get just a very minimal suspension. That presumes that the video doesn't come out. Again, if you have a video of Alvin Kamara kicking a guy laying on the floor, that's a problem.
Yeah, but don't you think, isn't pleading at all admission of guilt, though? Because as far as I remember, the NFL would, if there's an admission of guilt.
It depends. There's a thing. No, you can not. You can. It's called nolo contendere, and what it means is you're simply not going to contest the claims made by the state. That's not the same thing as an admission. So it can be done. Now, whether or not it's available in Nevada, I don't know. I presume it is because it's available everywhere, as far as I know. So it's possible to say, I'm not going to fight it. You go ahead and do whatever you want to do, state of Nevada. But that's not the same thing as saying, I admit that I committed this particular crime.
All right. I appreciate you, Tony. And we'll be calling you back. I think we'll need to have one more conversation about Watson once we I'm sure we're going to get into some kind of like crazy territory where they hand down the year and then they're taking it to court, and then I'm going to need you to come in and give us your expertise on what's next. So prepare for that phone call.
Be happy to do it, buddy.
I'll take you up on it. I'll dial you up, and if you answer, you answer. If not, no big deal.
Yep, anytime, brother.
All right, Tony, appreciate you.
Take care.
Tony Turley. Now, the other Tony can call in real quick. I'm sorry I had to hang up on the other Tony that called in. I appreciate that individual. And Ron, you can dial back too. Yeah, just ignore that guy in the chat, guys. Don't keep perpetuating it, repeating it, going after. Just get rid of him and then move on. So, and don't reply, Silver. That's what I'm saying. Just let it go, man. There's no replying or commenting to it. Just move on, moderate it, and move on. That's what the mods need to do. There's no engaging with that stuff, please. Ron Navy, call back if you could, my man. And Silver, I appreciate you. I know you do a lot. You, Terry, every mod in here does a lot, and I appreciate you. But definitely just move on from it if you could. Fantasy Dog says 2 months YouTube membership for Baked In Boys. How did I miss that? Why is this thing not alerting me when we're getting something? Let's see here. Baked In Boys, appreciate you being a part of the YouTube exclusive membership for multiple months. Let's give you a standing O.
Let's go, mashed potatoes!
Yeah, buddy. Appreciate you. That's about all we had today. Other than, so if anybody wants to call in real quick before we end the show, it's been an hour and a half so far. We're gonna probably call these shows about an hour and a half versus 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I can get more content out that way versus doing a 2-3 hour show, getting burned out and not wanting to mock draft later in the night. So we'll keep them about an hour to an hour and a half during the Monday through Friday 7 p.m. show. We have 205 of you in here, 139 thumbs up. Appreciate those. If you guys want to hit the thumb up to match the 139 with the 207 eyeballs, I would appreciate it. Let's see here. M Legion says there is no reply to all. Applies to all anybody listening. I don't know what you're talking about, Legion. Appreciate you, Legion. Member for 2 months, Hoovy. Hoovy's a member of the YouTube exclusive memberships for 2 months. Hoovy.
Let's go, mashed potatoes!
Yeah, buddy. Appreciate you, Hoovy. If you guys want to become a member of the YouTube exclusive membership, here is the link. I'll put it in the live chat, and I'm going to pin it. This gives you extra emojis. It gives you exclusive chat rights when we go down to during the season start bench advice show, where literally only people with the green names and moderators can ask a question. So you're absolutely going to love it. Your phone goes to voice message. Okay, try one more time, Ron. I'm sorry. You're live on the Fantasy Football Show. You're live on the Fantasy Football Show. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Smitty, it's the other Tony.
What's up, Tony? I apologize doing you dirty like that. I just had to get the attorney on. Tony, the attorney. I don't know. Maybe you're an attorney too.
I wish I made those bucks.
What's up? What can I do for you, Tony?
Hey, man, I have a keeper question that I desperately need your expertise in. Okay.
Okay.
So we just had the draft lottery. I got the number 1 pick. Okay. My keepers are Jamar Chase with a 5th round value attached, and AJ Dillon with a 7th round value attached. I approached the person with the 7th overall pick because they have ETN with a 10th round value attached to him. He's one of his keepers. Okay, so I offered the 1st overall pick for his 7th pick in the 1st round for ETN and AJ Dillon. So essentially, we're going to swap picks in the 1st round, then go back to normal drafting. Okay. And I was asking you, would that be worth it? Am I crazy? Because he agreed to it right away, and I thought, oh no, did I just get had?
It's a little hard to break down. So you went from what pick to what pick in round 1?
From the 1st overall pick to the 7th overall pick.
Okay.
And my keepers are Jamar Chase and AJ Dillon. One of his is Travis Etienne.
Okay.
And I offered the 1st overall pick in AJ Dillon for his 7th overall pick in Travis Etienne with a 10th round value attached to him. And I was wondering what I should do.
I'm still trying to break that down. It's a little tough for me to grasp what you're trying to say. You're trying to trade your 1st to the 7th to acquire what? What are you exactly acquiring from him to move down from?
I'm acquiring ETN for a 10th rounder. ETN and with a 10th round value attached to it, essentially. That's the only thing. And he's getting the number 1 pick in my AJ Dillon.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, I do that.
You would do that? Okay.
Yeah, I like AJ Dillon, but I mean, if you're getting ETN and he's being written into your 10th round, you're dropping from 1 to 7. I probably do that. I mean, who's going to be there at 1 though?
So every year, the first 2 rounds, they're thrown back in the pool every year. So all the usual suspects will be there. Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, hold on. Then before have you punched it yet? Hopefully you didn't punch it yet. I'm not saying it's for sure something I wouldn't do yet, but just let me think on it for a second. So you're gonna go from Jonathan Taylor to what potential player at 7, if you had to guess?
Najee or a Swift or I don't know. Eckler will be gone.
Okay,
and maybe Henry Cook.
Yeah, so ETN and a 1.7. So ETN and Najee for AJ Dillon and JT. I'd rather have ETN and Najee.
Okay. And then who would you target coming back around in 3 with the turn at 3 and 4? Who would you target?
And AJ Dillon, is it written into what value? Round
7.
Round 7. Okay. Yeah, I mean, AJ Dillon's acceptable there. That's a normal value for Dillon anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. Carrick, he says no. JT's not being kept because he's a 1st round pick and they aren't kept. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately JT and AJ Dillon for ETN and Najee. If you're really gonna get like a Najee or somebody that good, like a Javonte, then I'm okay with it.
Okay.
And what was your second question?
Oh, yeah, one more question. So I have the 9th overall pick in another league, and the person at 10 already expressed interest in Javonte. He sent me the article, the update of Melvin Gordon with his foot injury today. And he said, this Javonte is a lot more interesting now. And I was wondering, should I go ahead and take Javonte at 9 so he doesn't snipe me coming back in round 2, or What
it
were your thoughts on
depends.
that?
It depends how many players are kept. I know JT's not kept, and a lot of players are kept. But if there are a lot of first rounders being kept, then potentially he could be a second round pick essentially, and I'm more okay with it. Like I like Javonte and ETN over JT and Dylan. I do.
Okay.
But I feel like when's your next pick in the second round? Is it the top of round 2?
Yes.
I mean, you got to play it by ear based on the news with Melvin Gordon and all that. Like if Melvin Gordon's hampered by this foot reevaluation or something, then of course you'd want to take him at 9. But if not, I mean, he's probably blowing smoke to try and get one of his other players to fall. Can I honestly ask you, would you ever tell somebody who you're going to pick? I never understand why people believe other people. Like, he told me, I talked to him, he's going to take Javonte if I don't. Like, why on earth would he tell you that? Would you do it? No. Would I do it? No. Nobody's going to do that. I never tell someone, whenever I send a message to somebody or a text message, I go, hey, man, you should take Aaron Rodgers. He's pretty good here. It's because I want him to not take a non-QB. Like, there's just no...
You might be setting a little booby trap for me.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, I don't know that I buy that he's going to tell you he's taking Javonte. Now, maybe he does because he's, he is the best pick when he's on the clock to him or something, and there's news about Melvin. But I mean, like I just said at the top of the show, if everybody above Javonte isn't kept, like let's say 4 guys are kept that are getting drafted above Javonte, well, that would push Javonte in a regular draft in that thinking down into round 2. So I'd be okay with Javonte at 9. But if essentially no one's being kept from Javonte above, really, maybe one guy or something, then Javonte's still a second round pick. You can't let somebody's threat make you take him too early. I would take Najee. I would take Swift. I would try and grab both. Both Javonte and Swift, Najee and Swift. There's still plenty of other talent. Don't let someone strong arm you into taking somebody early. You don't know if he's telling the truth.
All right, it's me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Later.
Love the show. Bye.
Yep. Ron Navy, you can dial in again, good buddy. And then we're out of here. Ron Navy is an American hero. I have a friend that lives in Texas and calls Travis Etienne. What's up, Matt? You're live on the Fantasy Football Show.
Hey, Smitty, how you doing today, my brother?
What's up, man?
Hey, I got a few quick questions for you. So, what? I know he was a huge prospect coming out a few years ago. I'm talking about T.J. Hawkinson. He's one of the better tight end prospects, and seems like he hasn't really broken out yet. Where are you targeting him in drafts, and what do you think his ceiling is?
Like end of the tight ends that I'm, like I would say I'm liking Knox more than him, even though we probably shouldn't be, but there's just not the opportunity for him. So talent wise, maybe he's better, but situationally, I like Knox more. Thank you, Ron. Sorry I had to hang up on you, pal. I obviously like, Dalton Schultz over Hawkinson. I obviously like Goddard over him. So, I mean, really he's kind of like after all those usual suspects are gone. And some people take, him over. Take Hawkinson over, those guys. So, would I take Hawkinson over like Freiermuth? Probably. But I'm still okay with Knox or Freiermuth if I have to go that route and not take Hawkinson early. So if Hawkinson's going to fall, then I'd take him. But I'm certainly not going to force the issue when I've got guys like Knox and Freiermuth and Goddard that I like probably a little more that maybe go in the same exact place. So I just don't find myself drafting him. It's his situation is really kind of bad.
Right. Yeah, and I also find myself getting Schultz a lot in the 6th round, which I like. I think could be peppered quite a bit with Cooper leaving. You get a lot more targets. So
yeah, Schultz
I
could
do
be the
like
number.
Schultz.
He could be the number 2 tight end in fantasy football. He's going to be a monster. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm right there with you.
All right, man. If you have another question, last question, then I got to jump. Anything else?
Yes, sir. Also, I'm sitting at the 1.5 and a half PPR league, and McCaffrey and Jefferson. I'm kind of debating between the two because everybody in my league is scared of McCaffrey, and if I don't pick him, I know there's one guy, like the 107 that will take him, but everybody else is off him. So, and I'm in love with Jefferson this year. So I don't know. I don't want to look stupid, passing on McCaffrey. But if he's there at the 105, do I take him over Jefferson? What's your opinion?
Are you in love with drafting McCaffrey?
I had him last year, so I mean, I'm not too scared off. I know that injuries happen. It's it's football. It's contact sport. It's going to happen, but I just.
But you just said you're in love with Jefferson. You're in love with Jefferson. I guess I'm asking, are you in love with drafting McCaffrey? Because don't draft based on the fear of everybody laughing at your pick. Like, number one, I would draft Jamar Chase, Jefferson, and Cooper Kupp, and Najee Harris over CMC. So if I would draft all three of the wide receivers above, who cares what another person in your league, or even if 11 other guys are like, you didn't take CMC, whatever. If it's PPR, Jefferson or Jamar is worth the 1.2, arguably. I'm not saying everybody's going to do it. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I get it. I'm okay with it. I'm not forcing anybody. I'm not telling everybody they're ridiculous, but I literally will take Jamar Chase number 2 overall. I'll take Jefferson number 3 overall. Those are my second and third overall ranked players right now. Now, do I try and get away with getting them later? Of course I do. But that's how I feel about those wide receivers. And you telling me you're in love with Jefferson this year, but you're not feeling that way about McCaffrey, you would be drafting for other people. Draft for yourself. You know what I mean? Don't draft based on a fear of what other people are going to say. Always draft the best player available. It's such an easy thing, but no one can do it effectively. Even I struggle in a draft to keep my mind focused on that. Draft the best player available. Don't worry about ADP. Use ADP to your advantage. Use the pre-rank list to your advantage. That's not best player available. Best player available is to you, based on your team build, where you're at in the draft, what players you have currently on your roster, the injury risk of the first player you took. All of that's encompassing in best player available. It's a very complex thing to define truly what best player available is to you. But when you're on the clock, ask yourself who has the best floor and the most ceiling, and what player can literally be like, is there still a player that could be the number one at their position right here? Is there still a player that could be in a whole other tier than all the rest of these guys, but has a nice safe floor? So you got to ask yourself, what player has that potential? When you're on the clock, Javonte has it in round 2. He most certainly could be the number 1 overall player in fantasy football. Javonte could be the number 1 running back, number 2 running back. You take him in round 2 because you can. You don't take him in round 2 because you're scared of him. You take him in round 2 because people are giving you a gift that is Melvin Gordon, that is making Javonte fall into round 2. And a lot of people take this foot injury and they're trying to just assume things with it. Let it play out before you start moving Javonte up unnecessarily. And Broncos fan says, did you just say Jamar Chase over JJ? Yeah, Broncos fan, it's a pretty arguable thing to talk about. Kupp, JJ, Jamar, JJ, Kupp. They're literally neck and neck wide receivers. Absolutely, I said Chase. I love JJ too. I go back and forth on it. And if I got side-by-side leagues, I'd take one in one league and one in the other. But there's nothing wrong with taking Jamar Chase ahead of JJ or JJ ahead of Jamar Chase. Absolutely zero. All right, buddy. Anything else?
That's it, my man. I appreciate it. You have a quality day.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Call in anytime. Later. All right, I'm out of here. Phone lines are off. Sorry, Ron, for cutting you short. Appreciate the second Tony for calling back. Phone lines are off. Appreciate everybody that dialed in. You guys rock. We are out of here. See you Monday through Friday. See you Monday through Friday. See you tomorrow, Thursday, but we're live Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Not extending the show. I got to do a hard deuce out of this mug today. So appreciate you all. I will see you all tomorrow. If there's breaking news, I will be live. If Watson news breaks, I said it earlier. I think it's Roger Goodell information about the egregious acts and the predatory behavior and all that is a signal that a decision's coming. And the fact that it's been said that Deshaun Watson's going to start Friday's preseason game, they're going to announce this before that. I firmly believe that we will be here breaking news before the Friday game. I don't think the NFL is going to dare let Watson hit the field. So we'll have more information on that. Go to thefantasyfootballshow.com for your rankings, bold predictions, one-on-one text device. See you tomorrow. People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it.
Get burrowed.
Would I be live if there's breaking news at 1 a.m., Gregory? What do I look like? Of course I would, Gregory. Take a lap.